Yo, let's go YouTube. You know, your boy Stacks. I'm in the building. Video brought by my big homie, by the big homie Kev. You feel me? It's called The Darkest Kids TV show ever made. Yeah. If you're watching this on my second channel, oh yeah, YouTube, say what's up to Kev. Kev, say what's up to YouTube. But if you're watching this on my second page, just clips. Appreciate you clipping it. You know, be nice if you hit that little like, subscribe type shit. You feel me? Or Crash Bandicoot gonna be in your bitch like knocking that thing down like. But yeah, let's get into it. Oh, and Merry Christmas too to y'all.
It's the winter of 1985. A family living in a remote region of the Philippines receives a package at their door, which contained a single VHS tape and a note stating that the contents were for the children of the house. And so the kids were gathered up one by one and sat in front of the television where the tape began to play, introducing them to a brand new show called
Life with Grandpa.
Life with Grandpa.
Okay,
This was the
nigga.
experience for hundreds of kids across the world, made to watch a seemingly harmless puppet show about a grandpa and his family, with most of the young viewers loving it, gladly watching this episode and the many others that would be sent later on, over and over again, blissfully unaware that what they were being shown would someday come to be known as one of the most disturbing rabbit holes in the history of children's media. This is the story of Life with Grandpa, the darkest kids show ever made.
Nothing can harm you when Jesus is near.
Dad, I don't want you to leave.
Can I persuade you to subscribe?
Before we dive any further down this rabbit hole, I want to first thank today's video sponsor, Saley. Throughout my life, I've taken countless trips to Canada as I live right by the border, and I'm so used to going there that at this point,
Committed to sharing.
She loved to play.
Alright, starting the video back up. We're back.
Life with Grandpa, won't you come along?
This is Life with Grandpa, a straight-to-VHS show made for children created sometime in the mid-80s. The program followed a family of humanoid puppets on their journey to teach the audience lessons loosely based on Christianity through the use of stories, skits, and songs, acting as a guide for children to live their best possible lives for Jesus.
We're continuing with some more lessons about prayer. Are you all ready?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yo, I'm freezing now, nigga.
Such sweethearts.
The show was set up in an episodic fashion, never following any main overarching storyline, and instead, each installment would be composed of a series of shorter segments, recounting past experiences from this family, with an occasional musical number thrown in here and there.
We don't have a sad God. We have a happy God who wants us to be happy too.
Unsurprisingly, the main character of the crew was Grandpa, who acted as the show's host, often being the one to teach the episode's central messages not only to his on-screen family, but to all the kids watching at home.
But it's my kite.
But wouldn't you like to pray that some poor little boy who doesn't have so many toys and blessings as you do will find your kite?
Yes, Grandpa.
As he was made to be a wise, almost religious-like figure, whose words were never questioned. Often seen by his side was his wife, Mother Maria, though for as often as
Any
she's shown,
religious
she
show with
rarely has
kids
much to
always been
say.
terrifying to me.
Yes, thank the Lord for such a good, sweet boy.
Typically only
understood
chiming in
religion.
when she's reiterating Grandpa's messages to the children. And of the children, there was Davida, Techi, and Davidito, with the latter being one of the show's central figures, landing right next to,
My bad.
or potentially even ahead of Grandpa in terms of screen time, as Davidito often got his own segments and told his own stories directly to the audience.
Hello, children. Would you like to hear some exciting prayer adventures? This first story happened when I was very small.
And though it's never outright stated, it's clear that Davidito was put
DeVito?
on a pedestal, with the child often getting special treatment and being showered in gifts, as the family
DeVito
clearly seemed to
or
favor him.
David
Thank you, Uncle Al.
or
It's called
David.
a kite.
We want to
It
give
too.
you a little surprise because you were such
Fuck. Fuck, Cal. I'd take it back a little bit. Fuck it. But yeah, names be having like Like how that shit say Davidito, like that shit could mean something else. Like David it and O could mean something else. You get what I'm saying? Like I don't know.
Tape
Be
recording.
hitting messages and shit.
Thank you, Jesus.
With there never being an explanation
Or
as to
multiple
why,
meanings. Facts.
this is the core group of Life with Grandpa, with the only other reoccurring characters being Aunt Sarah and Uncle Elf, a couple that was often shown around the house helping look after the kids. And despite this looking like something pulled straight from the depths of the uncanny valley, the content within the show didn't really seem all that normal, and not too unlike the many other low-budget religious shows of the time, highlighting themes like obedience,
Nothing short of right is right.
Yes, so the right thing is...
To obey.
sharing,
Good morning, Davida. I have a surprise for you.
Davido.
Can I see it? I would like to share my cars with you. Which ones do you like?
and loving everyone.
That's really sweet of you, David. Thank you for that nice, generous present.
What present?
That nice kiss. A kiss makes a real beautiful gift or present.
Though mixed within these fairly standard teachings, you'll find other moments that are far more unusual.
Don't run down that gravel hill.
Bam.
Davida! Oh, Davida.
She's bleeding, and her cut is all covered with dirt.
You ain't no
And I
banging.
don't even have a tissue to wipe it with. I'll just have to lick it clean and spit out the
Oh,
dirt.
shh. What?
The show featured a lot of strange underlying themes that seemed to have nothing to do with religion, or at least not the
That's all I gotta say, Kevin.
conventional beliefs of Christianity, with one of the more obvious being its unprompted disdain for doctors.
Lick it and spit the dirt out is lick it and spit the dirt out is crazy work. that's nasty work right there, Kev. It's nasty work. Just wipe it with your shirt with the right, like something. That's crazy work right there.
Soon afterwards, there was no sign at all of the deep gash on Davida's forehead. Surely a doctor would have stitched it, but our God is still a God of miracles. Praise the Lord.
As well as its constant endorsement of spanking.
You watch this dude videos a lot.
Jesus spanks us because he loves us and wants us to obey and be good.
Is that a whooping? Is he giving somebody a whooping?
We're really sorry.
I don't like that.
So if the Lord should
What do you mean,
spank
not like
you
that?
a little bit or correct you, it's for your own good. It's because
That was
he
a spanking.
loves you and wants you to be good and obey.
And while these are certainly strange, by far the
That was
most
a whooping.
glaring indication that Life with Grandpa wasn't just your typical kid show came from the program's stance on women, with the first major example coming from a song made for the young girls watching on.
So do the dishes and clean the floor, and God can show us something more. I'm ready for any job at all, whether it's great or whether it's small. I'm ready to go, ready to stay, ready my place to fill, ready for service.
You know what they said, duetto.
It's one of the most surreal things that I've ever seen on a kid show, as this thing was clearly meant to be a portrayal of Grandpa's wife, and women in general, likening them to robots. Though unlike the previous demeaning song, this number is blatantly perverted, as it not only shows the robot having breasts, but it also shows Grandpa fondling them as well. And these perversions weren't even exclusive to its imagery. It's shocking for so many reasons, but mainly due to the fact that this was on a show that was literally made for toddlers and young children, who are now being shown this clearly explicit content. And most disturbing of all is the realization that this sexualized material was actually nothing new to the world of Life with Grandpa. Predating the puppets, there was a little-known illustrated book series called Life of Grandpa, with the show practically being a shot-for-shot remake of this book series, featuring the same exact characters and stories. And much like the show, the series was also a religious guide created for children. In its pages, you'll find themes about morality and lessons made to guide you towards a proper way of living through this religion. But these books also
So let me ask you this, Kev. They're weird. Let me ask you this, Kev. Would you be more satisfied if the women nowadays was like this, cook, clean, had babies and all that? Would you be more satisfied with them like the way they are in this era?
Also had a very apparent dark side, one far worse than the show it inspired. In the chapter Real Fathers, we're shown a scene where Techi and Davidito question why they have two different skin colors, despite them being siblings, as Techi noticed that Davidito's skin appeared light brown, while hers was almost pure white, to which Grandpa then explains to them how his wife and their mother had slept with other men. See, God used Timothy and Carlos only to fuck mama so that I could have you both. They were just like an instrument or tool that Jesus used to help create you wonderful little children for his kingdom. Praise the Lord.
Oh my God. Hey, look. Hey, God just do Timothy and Carlos only to fuck mama. But I can have you both. I was just like an instrument or tool that Jesus used to help create you wonderful little children for his kingdom. Praise. I thought you wasn't supposed to curse like that. I thought you wasn't supposed to curse like in them kind of days.
This was followed by an in-depth explanation of what that scene looked like, including images depicting the act.
Oh, wow.
Examples like this are prevalent all throughout the pages of Life with Grandpa, with erotic material being shown constantly with no regard as to how inappropriate this is to be showing kids, which begs the obvious question, why? Why was Life with Grandpa so blatantly perverted? Well, the answer lies with the author of the books and the reason for the show's existence. David
How
Berg.
did the show continue to stay on air?
David Berg.
David
Berg. He shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect. That's when Jesus is going to come back, to rapture his saints, to gather them together.
He looks like the grandpa.
Born in 1919, David grew up a devout believer in Christianity.
Yeah, he was born in 1919.
Christianity, but wanted something more from the religion. He dreamed of one day starting his own group with his...
See, that's what I'm saying. Back in the day, back in, they said it was on TV back in the day, but like, I thought things were more like censored back then, right? 1919 is wild. Like, I thought things was like more censored back then. Like, I didn't think they'd like even back on dance shows and like Soul Train and shit, like you couldn't, like, bro, you ain't see nobody like they were dancing and moving their bodies, but you never seen them like, let me show you what I mean. Like, let's say it's like a woman and a man. When was this made? I'm not even sure. But let's say it's a woman and a man dancing, right? Woman and a man dancing, like, and she like moving her body, like you'll never see a man like dancing on her and shit like this, like back in the day, like on dance shows and TV shows. Hell no, bitch, they was not going for that back then, dog. Not that tall.
His own teachings, and in 1968, at the ripe age of 50, he decided it was time to do just that. The group began in Huntington Beach, California, and went by many names over the years, like Teens for Christ, the Children of God, the Family of Love, the Family International, or just the Family. But regardless of its name, there was no denying what this group was. A cult. A cult led by David Berg. Berg would find young hippies and those struggling with drug addiction and mental health issues, and convince them to join his group by stating that the end of the world was coming soon, and that they needed to follow.
I don't know if you know too much about Marilyn Manson, but that's what Marilyn Manson did. Marilyn Manson did this and got five group of girls to go, got five like unstable women to go into like the hills and kill people for him.
Follow in his path and join his family to save their souls. It was pretty standard cult ideology, but at the time it was extremely
some serial
effective,
killer,
with the sect amassing a staggering 10,000 members at its peak.
I think it was Marilyn
and at
Manson.
first, David got by with fairly standard teachings from the Bible. although this wouldn't last.
It was one of them serial
After
killers.
some time,
I think
Berg
Marilyn
began
Manson
addressing
was
his
a rock
followers
star or
via
some
frequent
shit.
illustrated messages called
But it was some serial killer
letters that featured his ramblings and teachings.
He went to jail and he ain't even killed
slowly
nobody, but they
ingraining into his members that the contents of
Yeah,
these
you're right, I was
letters
right,
should be
okay.
taken as seriously, if not more so, than the Bible. In one of these letters sent out in 1972, Berg claimed that God was going to destroy the United States and that the group needed to flee the country immediately, with Berg demanding that his followers spread out all across the globe and open up communal homes where members could live as one, far away from the public eye. As a result, many members packed up their things and left right away, leading to roughly 130 communities being established across 70 different countries, essentially overnight. This mass migration had an extremely significant impact on the family, as it left practically the entire group outside of the United States.
That's how kids and stuff become victims, bro. Like that's how kids and stuff become like sexual victims because of shit like this. Like they're probably homeless. They probably like their parents are probably not around. Like this how they become prey to like older men and other men and stuff like that, bro. Oh yeah, it was called The Family. Yep. Them was the niggas that was killing. Yep, it was called The Family.
United States, and more importantly, outside of the United States jurisdiction, meaning that Berg can now get away with far more than he used to. And unsurprisingly, this is where he began to tighten his control.
Crazy.
The full-time members were made to give up all of their earthly possessions to the group and cease all contact with their family and friends who were non-believers, cutting them off from the outside world completely. And these restrictions also applied to the media they consumed.
I decided I would limit how much I would watch the TV. Cause now I've got the answer.
If you think about it, that's probably where Marilyn Manson got the idea from. 1972.
In his teachings, Berg denounced all forms of
This dude was
entertainment made
58.
outside of the cult.
This dude right here was
That this would
58.
poison the minds of his members and
He
potentially
was like
sway them
58,
into
close to
leaving the
60
group.
something around that
And
time.
so instead, he insisted that his followers only consume media that
So
was
Marilyn
produced
Manson-
directly by
so
the
Marilyn
family.
Manson
with
seen
these
this.
works
This shit
often
probably was
being
already
created by
done.
Berg himself or the other followers he enlisted, and then shipped directly to the members' homes, leading to hundreds, if not thousands, of videos, movies, and TV shows being produced and shared among the family. But for Berg, this wasn't just about providing entertainment. It was really all about controlling the minds of his group, and even more importantly, indoctrination, with his primary targets being children. From birth, most kids were not shown any media other than what the cult gave their parents, with these works quite literally shaping their minds into following everything that the cult believed in without question. The main themes of these were usually things like always be happy.
Wait,
Themes of these
it's
were
funny
usually
you
things
just,
like
it's funny you just said that.
but for Berg,
the
this
family,
wasn't just about moved by the family, that this would poison the minds of his members and potentially sway them into leaving the group. And so instead, he insisted that his followers only consume media that was produced directly by the family, with these works often being created by Berg himself or the other followers he enlisted, and then shipped directly to the members' homes, leading to hundreds, if not thousands, of videos, movies, and TV shows being produced and shared among the family. But for Berg, this wasn't just about providing entertainment. It was really all about controlling the minds of his group, and even more importantly, indoctrination, with his primary targets being children. From birth, most kids were not shown any media other than what the cult gave their parents, with these works quite literally shaping their minds into following everything that the cult believed in without question. The main themes of these were usually things like always be happy,
more than 70 little muscles form a proud face.
But only 14 muscles put a smile in its place on your face.
always show love,
Oh, it's crazy. Yeah.
and never, under any circumstances, question.
But you understand though. First of all, I'll just pause it on a creepy ass part. First of all. I'll pause it on a super creepy part, but hold on, let's get this bitch off the screen. Let's get her off the screen first of all. Okay? But look. Only people that be in cults and shit, and where them cults be getting, be women, children. That's what I'm saying. Men don't fall victim to shit like that because you know why? Men are usually the ones doing it, and men don't want other men inside of their team or on their team if they can't control them. You feel me?
Cause daddy said so. Do it cause daddy said so. Do it cause daddy said so. Trust, obey, and do it cause daddy said so.
See that whole do what daddy say so? You know what that shit turned into? That shit turned into abuse. Do what daddy say so. You train them. These motherfuckers is training their minds to whatever they say to do. So then when them niggas want to be freaky frogs, exactly, definitely, yup. So when these niggas want to be freaky frogs, when these kids grow up and stuff like that, their minds gonna be already trained to do what you know say so. Cause I'm not gonna say that's super Paul. So.
And Life with Grandpa was no exception, as it too was created by the family in order to instill their beliefs into its child viewers, with the line trust and obey being
That's probably where Marilyn Manson got the name. That is fucked up. But that's probably where Marilyn Manson got the name for his crew. For them girls, the family. That's what they keep calling the family. You feel me? Think about it. That's probably where he got the name from, called the family. This nigga was born 1919. Marilyn, he was born 1919. So when he was like 50 or in his 40s, maybe 50 in his 40s, Marilyn Manson was probably in his 20s or 30s maybe. I don't know. Hey Google, when was Marilyn Manson born? Yeah, Marilyn Manson was born 1969. 1969, this dude was born up. So by the time he was like in his 60s or 70s and shit, because remember, we see old shows all the time. Yeah, he was 50. So me and you, we see old shows all the time. So when he got older, he probably seen this show and was like, yo, I could do this. He's seen a mind controlling tutorial. Nigga, like when he probably seen this, it was like, yo, I could freak something with this. This nigga has something going. I could do something with this. But fuck the kids, I'm gonna use bitches. That's what he said. Fuck the kids, I'm gonna use bitches. Feel me?
Hammered home time and time again, as those creating the programs didn't want their kids questioning any of the practices, and so they were teaching them to simply smile along and trust the adults. But because the group was the one producing and distributing the content, they basically had no regulations placed on them, meaning that they could include whatever they want in these shows without any repercussions, leading to many of the showrunners exploring some of the group's more controversial beliefs, which becomes extremely troublesome when you realize that the family wasn't just your standard cult, and instead, it was a sex cult.
I knew it.
When you think about
I knew it.
In the Garden of Eden,
knew it.
What are you thinking about?
You just said it.
You think about
I knew
a
it.
beautiful naked man and a beautiful naked woman. And what is the first thing that a beautiful naked man and a beautiful naked woman would, of course, naturally do as soon as they saw each other and nobody else around? I think just one look was all it took. And
these niggas' problem is what they think is a naked woman be a fucking child.
David Berg was a deeply perverted man. The idea of sex consumed him and seeped its way into essentially all of his teachings.
I think Adam and Eve are over there behind those bushes right now, busy making
freaky
pina
frog.
colada. I think they're making some other kind of juices.
And once his followers were outside of the US, he began to preach something he called the law of love, which essentially said that the family should be showing all people love, and that love should come in the form of sex.
Freaky frog.
I practice what I preach, and I preach sex, boys and girls, hallelujah.
And so he told his followers to open up their relationships to outsiders, calling the practice sharing, as you were made to share your partner in the hopes of enticing new people to join the group. But he wasn't satisfied with just this, and instead he began to mandate that the women of the group participate in something he called flirty fishing. Also known as FF, flirty fishing describes the practice of women going into bars.
I'm saying, let them. Ain't nobody got no man. Who gonna control it? Who controlling it? He ain't got nothing in there but women and kids. He brainwashed them people. That's what I'm saying. He ain't got nothing in there but women and kids. What women and kids gonna do? Now, if it's men in there, then they some bitch ass niggas. Or it's men in there that were kids that he already brainwashed. You see what I'm saying? It was men in there that he took his kids and brainwashed them. So when they got girls, I know, but that's what I'm saying. This nigga was born in 1919. There's a lot of motherfuckers that was born after him. So he probably got a bunch of boys. He probably got a bunch of boys that he probably sexually assaulted. You feel me? Got a bunch of boys that he probably sexually assaulted, and then brainwashed them. So when they got older, he, you feel me? Since they're already used to him telling them what to do, he probably was like, look, this how we gonna do. When y'all get girlfriends, you bring, you feel me? Like, let me, then we gonna start, sharing and all that type shit. Feel me?
Bars at night in order to pick up lonely men, who they would then entertain for the night. The goal of this was to convince these men to join the family, though more realistically, the goal was also to make money, as they were made to charge for their services, with the women being told to seek lonely businessmen. And this is something that Berg not only pushed heavily, but outright mandated, insisting that every woman in the group do this or face being removed from the family, even those who were married. And Berg was so serious about this that he sent every colony report forms so that they could report how much flirty fishing was being done, in order to check their statistics and make sure that they were up to par. Right? Understandably, many women of the group were concerned by this and wanted nothing to do with it. However, most of them had moved all the way across the world and sacrificed all of their belongings to be in this group, meaning that their removal would leave them with nothing. They were trapped. Simply put, Berg was forcing the women of the group into prostitution, and he was shameless about it too, calling them God's whores and Christ's hookers. The worst of all, Berg knew that flirty fishing could put these women in grave danger, as he admitted to them that violent assaults were going to happen, but he said that if you want to live, simply don't resist. And if you do get hurt or even killed, that's entirely your fault, as after all, it was God's will. And this was on top of a myriad of other horrific things that Berg said that I can't even repeat here. But the man saying all of these horrific things was the same man who wrote Life with Grandpa, and he used this medium to normalize his sex cult's beliefs for the children watching, which gives more context as to why women were portrayed in the way they were in these books and the show, as Life with Grandpa was breaking down the young girls watching and grooming them for a life of prostitution that they were made to accept without question.
See? Sick dude, he just said it.
Though the show wasn't only for preparing the kids for the perverse lifestyles they were headed for, and instead,
this was actually a show.
They were already becoming well accustomed to it. Throughout his Mo letters, Berg also began to preach that children should be involved in these affairs and sharing as well, stating,
I fucking knew it, Kev. I fucking knew it. I knew it. It was only a matter of time. I fucking knew it, Kev. I fucking knew it. I knew it. I knew it. I fucking knew it, Kev. Kev, I fucking knew it.
that he believed age should have nothing to do with it. In fact, he believed that children should be taught about this lifestyle essentially as soon as they're born. And although, again, I can't read his exact words on this, Berg had declared open season on pedophilia, and much like flirty fishing, it was mandatory. The abuse that followed is unimaginable, at a scale far too large to fully know to this day. Abuse that the parents of the children not only allowed, but often participated in, with one of the more notorious large-scale accounts coming from something that the group called the Love Video. This movie was a result of Berg sending out requests to all of the parents to send him lewd videos of their children dancing, which he not only took for himself, but packaged together into a long-form compilation video that was then distributed to all of the cult's members, encouraging the others to film similar content, with Berg going as far as creating a guide to help create the perfect video. And not only did
how much you want to bet he's going to say, then he went and packaged these videos and sent it to other perverts online, and he sold them online. He's already selling women and selling sex. What's going to stop him from selling kids and selling their sex? I guarantee you.
Did many parents go along with this? But many clearly enjoyed it.
Kita shared with us the video that just came from World Services, and it was...
See, but you got to understand these niggas, these adults now that's brainwashed, they were the kids. They were once kids that he groomed and to brainwash, so then he can now do this to their kids. And there's nothing they can do because they're already trapped in that cycle, bro.
So inspiring. It was so beautiful. The Love Video.
It's crazy.
And for this couple specifically, this wasn't the only order that they were happily following.
And it was really a blessing, too, for Joe and Hobo, because they had a good chance to share also with Sally.
Amen.
And so the Lord's really
You're
setting us
definitely not in their right mind. Nigga, it's not, nigga, not in their right mind, nigga. That's not even their minds, Kev. That's this nigga Bill, Greg, or whatever the fuck. That's his mind. He put his mind into all these motherfuckers, bro.
To obey and to be free and to show that sample of
obey and to be free. Ain't no motherfuckers
love
ain't
to
free.
the world.
Trust and obey. The niggas that carry on like this, bro, they usually was touched or had something sexually done to them as kids. And that's when they go along and they pass that shit along.
Life with Grandpa was literally created to indoctrinate kids into a pedophilic sex cult. And it makes you realize why exactly it and so many other of the cult's programs were hammering home this point of not questioning your parents or any adults, and to simply obey and smile.
So the right thing is
to obey.
Because the adults in their lives were now suddenly doing unimaginable things to them. And they were being groomed not to question it, making some of the show's segments horrendous in hindsight.
One very special way you can show the big people that you love them is by
Big
giving
people.
them lots of hugs, kisses, and cuddles. Oh.
Hey, yo!
And affection really encourages and inspires the big
Hey,
people.
yo!
It was normalizing their abuse, and because of this, many
Gotta spam that. Hey, yo! We about to tongue kiss his mom. Hey, yo! That's crazy. That's fucked up. Doing it to doing it to so many people. And it was fucked up. What I'm about to say is, and man, it's probably worse. There's probably worse shit going on, bro. Probably worse shit that's going on or had went on, because none of this shit was recorded. None of this shit that was. If this is who telling this story or this information they got is probably from somebody passed down and down and down. So somebody who actually was here, and it was just passed down generation to generation until somebody actually told somebody that put it out there, and now they're doing something about it, bro.
children never questioned the horrible assaults that they endured,
Because it's like
assaults
videos,
that were all fueled and
shit.
pushed by
Oh,
David
yeah.
Berg's sick perversions.
God created boys and girls able to have children
Sex.
by about the age of 12 years of age. My God, now he's going to advocate child and sex. Yes.
Which were far from theoretical, as Berg himself allegedly partook in this practice repeatedly with his own children and stepchildren, as incest was also a key point of his teachings, and his adult followers rarely dared to question this.
Bro, he said he partaked in sex with his and his stepchildren.
As those who refused to partake in Berg's latest teachings were again at risk of removal from the group, which is even more devastating for those who had children, as much like all of their possessions, their kids were pledged and belonged to the family, and the kids themselves couldn't seek help either.
To be honest with you, bro, because that shit traumatizing. I can't speak from experience, because God, luckily, and God forbid, luckily, that's luckily I was able to get through life, and hopefully you was able to get through life without having any of this stuff ever done to you. But we can't speak upon that because we ain't ever have it actually done to us, or no type of effect like that. But I don't think people ever get over that shit, bro. That's like war. I think that's like war, like PTSD, like that shit out of nowhere. You could just be somewhere chilling and you just have a flash, like you just be somewhere chilling, you just have a flashback. You feel me? Like, and shit just happened. That's like when I go back to my old neighborhood, like how when I went back in my old neighborhood, how shit was just coming to me, all these fights and shit, niggas having like different areas I was stepping in, like flashbacks to when shit happened 20 years ago, 15 years ago and shit like that. Just boom. Certain things I see that look like other shit remind me of other stuff, or remind me of like, so
They were sent away to actual prison camps owned by the cult until they were basically reprogrammed.
They made camps. I was sent with my brother to the Philippines. We had armed guards from the Filipino military keeping us in. They would publicly beat you if you asked to leave, then try to break you and get you to confess.
And the group continuously got away with this too, thanks in large part to Berg's orchestration of the group leaving the United States, which looking back was almost certainly done on purpose.
But you do understand, bro, like all this stuff has like, I don't understand it. I'm not trying to say nothing about Christianity or faith or God, but it has nothing to do with me. I don't know. I don't know nothing about none of that stuff. But what I do know is every time I hear some stuff about this, it always got something to do with the head person being church and godly and all that kind of stuff and having some shit to do with that. That's what I do know.
Plus, many members were actually living in hiding. In fact, all of the members were made to change their names upon joining the group, and most were told to never give out their last names, meaning that if any child wanted to report that had happened to them, they would be unable to provide even the names of their abusers. And this included Berg too, who at this point lived.
Like, to do some shit like that, Kev, this shit is thoroughly, he learned this from somebody. This shit is thoroughly planned. Like how when me and BX, like how when me and Lex, we go into 2K and like we have game plans and we know what to do. Like, this shit is thoroughly planned. Like, this isn't some shit. He just woke up the next day and was like, yo, let's do it. No. This nigga's been doing it. Look. He planned this for sure. Exact. Kev, is either he planned this or he took this plan from somebody else that was doing this to him and his family, and that's what I mean. The abused turn around sometimes and be the abuser. You feel me?
Lived most of his life in hiding, going by numerous aliases to avoid detection. Aliases like King, Moses, Mo, Dad, and eventually Grandpa.
Crazy. Grandpa's crazy.
The entire show was about him, David Berg, which is why he was shown as a wise, unquestioned religious-like figure who the children were made to look up to. And that wasn't all, as the characters shown alongside Berg were also members of his real-life family that lived with him in a remote commune. Mother Maria was the nickname of Karen Zerby, David's wife who helped him run the cult and facilitate this era of hypersexualization, while Aunt Sarah was based on Sarah Kelly, the woman in charge of running the prison camp made to punish the kids who dared question the family's beliefs.
Sarah Kelly, who was responsible for me being held against my will in the Philippines.
But the most grotesque detail to come from the revelation of who these characters are was that it showcased David Berg's polygamy, as he was actually married to many people in the real world, and two characters on the show itself, Mother Maria and Davida, his then 5-year-old stepdaughter. Davida would eventually go on to tell her story, stating that she had been Berg's child bride.
And there was a ceremony with the ring and everything, and once I turned 5 years old was when I was implicated into being one of his queens, so to speak.
Along with allegations that she had been victimized by him countless times. And she wasn't the only victim of Berg's perversions. Techi was often sexualized by Berg publicly, with Berg having stories made and illustrated depicting his fantasies about her when she was just a child. On top of this, numerous people within the group also claimed that she had been outright assaulted by the hands of Berg, as well as many others in the group.
And look at our pretty girls today. You're dressed in such nice dresses and your hair looks so nice. Yes, you look so pretty for all the children that are watching today.
I wonder...
The context of who these characters are makes this
I wonder
already
what year it
disturbing
was
show
when that girl
that
just
much
was
more
saying
sickening.
that.
But of all of the horrible stories to come from the real-life characters of Life with Grandpa,
That's
there's
like
one
in the
that is far and
2000s.
away the most horrific. The
That
story
weird?
of Davidito.
David is such a handsome boy, isn't he, girls? Would you like for David to share some more lessons?
Yes, Grandpa.
Are you all ready? Okay, David, you have the floor.
His real name was Ricky Rodriguez, and as a baby, he was taken in as Berg's son following Maria conceiving him with a man after a night of flirty fishing. And being David's first son, he was given the nickname Davidito. As for David Berg, he viewed...
Wow. That's why it's going to be so easy for him to sexually. That's why it's going to be so easy for him to sexually assault this child, because this child is not fucking his. That's why it's going to be a piece of cake for him to sexually assault this child, because she had it when she was out doing what he told her to do to make him some money. I guarantee you he sexually assaulted this kid, bro. Kev, I will bet you my goddamn whole streaming setup he does.
Viewed this child as essentially a messiah. He began telling his followers that Davidito would one day save them from the apocalypse, causing Davidito to become a celebrity within the group and worshipped as a religious figure when he was just a baby. Which explains why he was given so much airtime during Life with Grandpa, and why he was constantly being showered with gifts.
We want to give you a little surprise because you were such a good witness.
And for David and Karen, they wanted Davidito's life and childhood to be a guide for all members of the group, as they raised him in what they believed to be the perfect manner for a godly household. And so the couple and several other contributors documented the way he was raised, with daily journal entries that were published as weekly newsletters, and eventually turned into one massive book titled The Story of Davidito. And the family truly believed that this over 700-page book was the ultimate guide for parenting and showed the only proper way to raise a child, though what it actually showed was just how badly Davidito was being abused. Davidito was described laying next to his nude nannies, witnessing orgies involving his own mother, and being touched sexually by the adults around him. With these examples being presented involving his own mother, Davidito actually showed was just how badly Davidito was being abused.
What?
Davidito was described laying next to his nude nannies, witnessing orgies involving his own mother, and being touched sexually by the adults around him. With these examples being presented through not only written stories, but actual photographs, with the adults involved having their faces removed and drawings placed over the top of them in order to hide their identities. The book was not only promoting sexual acts with children, but it was outright showing it, and showing it happen to Davidito. And because of this, we have a daily journal entry of all the abuse that this child suffered, starting when he was an infant. Despite all the heinous acts that had been going on within the family, they had up until this point gone virtually unchecked by the public eye. But the story of Davidito would prove to be the first domino to fall, as the book leaked to the press.
Tonight, the cult children.
Bro, these niggas wasn't worried about no diseases or nothing like that, and all that shit going on. I know these niggas wasn't strapped up. We know that, Kev. These niggas wasn't strapping up. We know that for a fact, bro.
Children of God, founded by Moses David Berg, he reportedly sanctioned sex among children.
This immediately became a news story all across the world, and it began shining a light on the family and its twisted beliefs. But despite all the constant news coverage, and the story of Davidito being tangible proof of the cult's horrible practices, there was still essentially nothing done to stop them, as very few arrests were ever made as a result, and even fewer resulted in convictions. So nothing was ever done to help Davidito. And so during his entire childhood and his early adult years, he stayed with the group. Though the older he got, the more he began to see the family for what they really were, and the constant pain that he was experiencing eventually made him want to just run away from it all. And so, in 1999, that's exactly what he did, fleeing to the United States in the hopes of starting a new life. Though this was easier said than done, and no amount of distance was enough to keep him away from his tortured past. At one point during his time in the United States, Ricky actually opened up about the struggles he was experiencing on a website made for survivors of the family. And there, he documented just how bad things really were for him and several others behind the scenes, living with Berg, appropriately titling the post, Life with Grandpa. It was apparent that he was haunted by this life that he tried to escape, as the trauma was an everyday cycle of hell, and he just couldn't take it anymore.
He probably killed
himself.
himself.
That sometimes the Lord likes to test our faith, to teach us patience, and to really make us pray? This is just what happened to me once.
Well, hey everyone. I want people to know that even though some of the things right in a lot of people's books, I want to explain some of the reasons behind it.
On January 7th, 2005, Ricky Rodriguez set up a video camera in his apartment and expressed his desire to kill his mother and other leaders of the group for all the dreadful things that they had done not only to him, but to all the other children, with his hope being that this would finally bring down the family once and for all.
My goal is to get those sick fucks Mom and Peter, and you know, then I can go to the next life knowing that you know,
I ain't gonna lie, that nigga's like a straight
with Ricky
girl.
going as far as to show off the various ways that he planned on torturing them.
I'm gonna have to make do. I got my drill here. Got lots of fucking duct tape.
God knows, He hears, He cares. He loves His girls and boys. He gives His very
Don't let niggas
best
sound
to
soft as
those
fuck.
who let Him choose the toys.
By this point, David Berg had been dead for years, though the family carried on with his mother, Karen Zerby, assuming full control, which explains why she was the primary target. And much like Berg, Karen spent most of her life in hiding, with Ricky being unable to track her down, though he was able to find Angela Smith, one of the nannies responsible for raising him, as well as one of his most prominent abusers, as she was even shown in the story of Davidito assaulting him. At this point, Ricky was exhausted, and Angela was his last shot at getting intel to help him find his mother and finally carry through on his plans. And so, he invited her over for dinner, under the guise of rejoining the group.
I went home that night and tried to wait patiently
To
for the
bury him
next
by
day.
Earth core.
But the Lord still had more lessons that He wanted to teach me. This is what happened.
Before
Killed
Ricky
her.
could even get the information he was looking for, something in him snapped, and midway through their conversation, Ricky grabbed a knife and stabbed Karen in the arm, and then slit her throat. He fled the area that night, driving for hours until he reached California, the place that years before David Berg had started the family. There, he called his ex-wife, professing to everything he did, saying that he did it mainly for his sister Techi, but he felt no better. In fact, he felt worse. And even looking back at the video, it's very obvious that this was something that Ricky didn't truly want to do, and instead he felt like he had to do it, to avenge everyone that the family had hurt.
I'm not trained. I don't know how to fucking do this. I don't even want to fucking do this. God damn it.
And it was too late to take back what he did. And so he stopped the car in a dark parking lot, sat there for a moment thinking about everything that had happened during his suffering once and for all.
I mean, in a way, that's what these fuckers have done to us. They didn't actually, grab a knife and cut us up, but man, they sure fucked up our brains. That's the way it was at Grandpa.
Yeah, it was
Mama's
32
house.
minutes that he did.
Literally or figuratively, they're going down. So, with that happy thought, I shall leave you.
Ricky Rodriguez's death was devastating for the community of survivors of the family, and it caused shockwaves all throughout the family itself, as his final video was plastered all over the news. And though it didn't happen in the way he expected it or wanted it to, Ricky's life and death undoubtedly contributed to the decline of the family, and helped diminish the cycle of abuse within the group. Starting from the story of Davidito, the public pressure forced Berg to outlaw the widespread abuse that he once preached. And though it is believed that it never really came to an end, it was at the very least significantly reduced. And by the time the news began to cover Ricky's death, it proved to be the final wake-up call for many still within the group, as they finally began to see through the facade that had once controlled their lives.
Like Grandpa says, prayer is powerful. When we pray, things will happen and things will.
Like,
Knowing its history, its purpose,
always about
and the
money
real
and
people
sex.
that it was inspired by. Though as soon as the media began taking notice of the cult, many members were made to purge the media that was sent to them that may be considered incriminating. And as a result, it appears that most of Life with Grandpa is missing to this day, and potentially destroyed forever. Currently, only 4 episodes have been recovered, and it's not even known how many more were released, or even what year the show started or ended. But considering how closely the show mirrored the book, it's possible that these potentially missing and destroyed episodes are much worse than the ones we have today. But despite not knowing the full extent of the show, it's clear that Life with Grandpa and the countless other programs that the family made did exactly what they wanted them to. They brainwashed an entire generation of the cult's children, and the effects were devastating.
But they become extremely agitated when we ask them about Moses David Berg's teachings on sex.
My Little Fish. Now, your father described that as a routine publication.
They're not having sex, they're just kissing and hugging in bed. That's not sex.
If you show it to other people, they don't understand. That stuff's not supposed to be publicized. So many people think sex is wrong. So many people hate us. But we just telling them the truth. We're just telling them it's not wrong. We're just telling them that there's nothing wrong with it. And here come these publicizers showing them to everybody.
Between the strange content from the program itself, its obvious attempts at indoctrinating kids into a cult that was only ever going to harm them, the real-life people behind the characters, and the fact that this propaganda was so effective, I have no doubt that Life with Grandpa is the darkest children's show that I've ever come across. Though, shockingly, there's somehow one more layer to the story that makes this program even more disturbing.
Oh wow. There's more.
And now, here's the exciting ending
P.
to
Ricky.
this story.
One thing that we haven't discussed yet is who was actually the one behind the creation of the show. There's no doubt that it's David Berg's stories and was probably done at his request, but who is the one actually making it? Well, unfortunately, most of the people who worked on the show have their identities hidden by only using their first names, or even using straight up aliases, so I could hardly find any information on any of them, with the exception of one. Peter Puppet. Peter Puppet was sort of a celebrity within the group, being responsible for numerous puppet shows, including one called The Lovettes, which was actually far more popular than Life with Grandpa, and was even supposedly broadcast on TV in the Philippines, with the show being a disturbing rabbit hole in its own right.
Would you like to hear a story? Well then, let's go see Grandpa in the garden. Hello, children.
Name was real, so they don't know them, so they don't know them. Facts.
But Peter Puppet owned this group and was in charge of the Lovettes team, and coincidentally, the Lovettes just so happened to be credited as the producers of Life with Grandpa. So Peter Puppet was, at the very least, one of the contributing creators of the show. And he also seems to be the one in charge of performing the actual musical numbers on the show, as they featured puppets that belonged to Peter and the Lovettes team, with these segments interestingly being credited to an unknown man named Peter Pioneer.
We have a beautiful song from Peter Pioneer.
It's not a concrete link, but it's clear that Peter Puppet had a role in the show's creation, and helped push the family's disturbed ideology onto hundreds of kids across the globe. But during the creation of Life with Grandpa, it seems his own beliefs were being tested. In the beginning of the video, we saw an example of the family's view on doctors.
Surely a doctor would have stitched it, but our God is still a God of miracles. Praise the Lord.
This sentiment was really common in the family, as Berg outright forbade any medicine or surgeries of any kind, instead preaching that miracles from God were the only way to heal. And because of this, many members of the family with chronic ailments or fatal illnesses were basically left to die. And one of those left suffering was Peter Puppet. His life is almost entirely a mystery, as he lived in hiding in one of the family's compounds, but according to some of the group's members, one day he noticed something in his neck, a small lump, and over the next few weeks and months it began to slowly get bigger and bigger, to the point that Peter had to go visit a doctor in order to see what was wrong. And it was there he learned that inside of him was an aggressive tumor that was only going to get larger. The good news was the tumor was actually operable and could be removed with little risk to his life, but the bad news was surgeries were against the family's beliefs, and so he turned it down, instead opting to go back to the compound to pray the tumor away with the other members. This, however, never happened. Instead, the mass began to grow at an even faster rate, to the point that those around him could notice it, eventually leading to Peter hiding away in his room away from the others, not wanting to be seen. However, at some point during his struggle, a photograph was taken showing the entire compound he was living with. And in the background, we see Peter, whose neck is impossibly large. From here, it said that Peter began to beg the family to take him to get this surgery, as the tumor was quite literally suffocating him slowly, turning him against the very beliefs that he once forced upon so many children over the years. But the family forbade it, insisting that he wait for a miracle that was never going to come. With nowhere else to turn, Peter Puppet supposedly ended his own life shortly after this photograph was taken, adding the final pillar of context to Life with Grandpa, a program that can only be described as the darkest children's show ever created.
We've got to go now. Let's wave bye-bye, kids. God bless you. Come on, say bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Fuck y'all. Fuck you, Grandpa. Your perverted punk-ass ways.
And filled with I must arise and go.
Karma? Yeah.
Backward through sorrow, my steps to trace.
75.
Seeking
He was never convicted of a single crime. That's the boss of rapists right there.
but a servant's place.
Husband legacy by leading a family. To this day, she's not been. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Did that say 2010? He lived till 94? That's crazy. Yeah, I could have been a victim. I was born. I was 4, nigga. I could have been a victim. I was 4, nigga. No. No, I was 6. What they say about the girl? Karen Zerby continues her husband's legacy by leading the family to this day. Yo, Kev, they're still out there. He has not been photographed or seen publicly since 2010. So that means, she was married to this nigga. So she was married to this nigga, and she's still living till the. So that must mean that lady must be one of the kids that he groomed for her to still be alive today. Because if the bitch was born in 1924 or 25 or around when he was born, she would not be alive for today. So this is definitely one of the kids. It's definitely one of the kids that he. If this lady's still alive. Sarah Kelly left the family and went into hiding. She was last seen living in Costa Rica in 2018, working with Seeds and Hope, a charity specializing in helping vulnerable women and children. Upon learning of her true identity, Seeds and Hope severed ties with her, and she's never been seen again. She would later seek out against her brother. They claiming that no abuse ever took place, and Ricky simply disturbed. She remains with the family to this day. Cat. 6 years ago is scary close. Definitely still going. Still going due to statutes of limitations, and many victims of the family will likely never receive justice they deserve. The family continues its operations and strict rules against the abusive. That's crazy if that shit's still going on, Kevin, in 2024. However, they have never. I did.
I must arise and go. Sweetheart, I will arise and go.
So that last thing, so.
Deeply repenting these wrongs I've done. Hoping my father
they never disowned, my bad.
I must arise and go.
That's the type of shit my nigga Kev wanted to see so bad. That's the type of shit you into, Kev. What type of viewer do I got? This type of shit you into, Kev. This is what floats your boat, nigga. That's the type of shit you like, nigga. But nah, it's a 58-minute fucking video. Been going 60 years. Yeah, that's wild. But yeah, if you're still here from YouTube, appreciate you. I'm ending this video now. I'm ending this now.